I think this is not a great matchup for Billy Q. I think that Youssef Zalal is a young, hungry fighter who got an opportunity, but the short notice definitely throws a wrench into things. So open, minus 140 is the favorite, Billy Q, I think rightfully so. Plus 120 comeback. But again, let's check the live odds and see where we're at. Minus 120 favorite, Billy Q, plus 100, Youssef Zalal. The live money, the live dog to a lot of people is Youssef Zalal. And there's a couple of points that I want to point out before we get started. Age, Billy Q, I know we love him, 35 years old. Not what you want to be at in this stage of your career at 145. Then again, Youssef Zalal, a fresh 27 years old. Who's more defensively responsible, Youssef Zalal or Billy Q? I would say that has to be with Youssef Zalal, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it leads us to the last number that we pretty much need to look at. And it just comes down to who has taken a major emphasis in just racking up control in their fights recently. And for whatever reason, it's Youssef Zalal. Like, he's taken like a major wrestling approach. 3 fights out of the UFC, but he's back. And that leads us to where we're at today. So, you know the animal that Billy Q is. He's a cardio guy. This is only 3 rounds, but he'll break you down over 3 rounds. Oftentimes, he loses the first round. But I do think that this could be one of those, AJ, that you talked about earlier in the show, which is a matter of who is going to be the busier fighter, who is just going to be putting the numbers up. And I think if you're not careful, Billy Q will rack those numbers up very quickly. He's also a jiu-jitsu black belt, so that mitigates some of that grappling that Youssef Zalal might try to do. But then again, I mean, the game can be played many ways. What do you think about this matchup?
Man, this one's very, very interesting. You said it, but it was a couple fights ago when we were breaking it down. You want to talk about somebody losing their O. Well, it's even worse for Youssef Zalal, man. He comes in, he gets his shot in the UFC, loses 3 straight, well, then has a draw, but then loses his job, has to go fight in the SCL. And, man, starts actually, instead of what he was before, all decision fights, this dude starts knocking people out left and right. So I think Youssef Zalal is going to be coming in for that same thing. He's going to be hungry. He's going to be looking for the opportunities, especially because Billy Q is that slow starter we've seen. So this makes it very, very dangerous. I still like Billy Q in this. We've seen him be durable. We've seen him be able to withstand stuff, but we've also seen him get completely flatlined. And I don't think Youssef Zalal has well, he probably has the athleticism to do it, but I don't know if he has the timing necessarily to surprise Billy Q. But, man, this is definitely one that is a potential winnably fight for Youssef Zalal right here.
Well, bro, that's why I was saying, I was like, all right, well, a live dog could potentially be here, Youssef Zalal. And here's the problem. This is where everybody's getting behind him. So he's not really a live dog anymore. This is more of the tides are changing in momentum. But then I say, okay, yeah, super impressive 3-fight win streak. And I respect it. And I was really high on this guy from the very beginning of his career, right? Because he came in during the COVID era. So we got to kind of literally see the birth of the UFC tenure. That's, more or less when we started doing this program right here. So context aside. But Youssef Zalal, bro, those 3 wins that he just racked up, they're all first-round finishes, which is what concerns me because you better finish Billy Q early because if you don't, brother, get ready for 3 rounds of violence, of nonstop going. And we know Zalal has the gas tank. That's not the problem. It's just that we saw it against his toughest test, Damon Blackshear, where he got that draw. There was a lot of hugging in that one, a lot of control, not a lot of damage. You look at the loss against Sean Woodson, against Sting Woo Choi, Ilia Topuria. Sheesh, imagine you had to fight that guy early on. That dude ends up being the champ. And then you look at Billy Q. You beat the Leech, Damon Jackson in your last one. Yeah, you got caught by the knee by Edson Barbosa, but you can't fault the man too much. Win over Alexander Hernandez, lost to Shane Burgos, beat Gabriel Benitez, lost to Gavin Tucker, Carl Nelson, Spike Carlisle. All I'm saying, Kamwela Kirk, all I'm saying, man, is that some of the lesser fighters that Billy Q has fought are better than some of the best fighters that Youssef Zalal has fought. So it's still a strength of schedule thing. Now, Ilia Topuria might shift the scales because it's just a different conversation we're having, but ultimately, do you think that this is a moment right here before we jump into the props where the narrative, this isn't a UFC narrative, this is like an online with the rumors or ruminating, does the narrative cause us to jeopardize our intuition and who we think we have as a favorite, which is rightfully so Billy Q? What do you think?
It definitely gave me pause for thought, Derek. Having that idea that Youssef Zalal is back, right? Like it made me a little curious. Like, is Billy Q old now? We've seen him struggle a little bit. We've seen him not perform how we're used to seeing Billy Q do it. But I don't think this is anything where we're just jumping ship and changing picks right off the bat. I mean, I can see where people are coming from. But again, man, UFC talent versus out of UFC talent, it's a whole different level. And the fact that Youssef Zalal has done it both just proves at where he is and able to finish them outside of the UFC.
That's it, man. So again, I think the grappling kind of will cancel itself out. I still imagine Zalal that he's going to be grappling. I'm really just interested who's putting up the higher strike count, and I think it's going to be Billy Q. I think with his smothering pace, he's going to keep Zalal on the back foot, and it's really hard to go get that knockout when you're on your back foot the entire time. So another consensus pick, Billy Q and AJ. I'm really liking this one, man. I don't think Zalal is going to go out easy. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. So give me the Billy Q decision plus 130. How do you see it?
That's exactly what I was looking at, Derek. Billy Q plus 130. Expect a lot of blood, but I do not see a lot of finish coming out of this fight.
That's right. And then look at the price, man. Billy Q minus 120 for just a money line, but plus 130 for the decision. I like it. Youssef Zalal plus 200 for the decision. So if you want to go that route, you can always hedge, but I don't feel the greatest about this hedge.